It's funny, isn't it, that to children, everything's an emergency. Everything. Haven keeps picking up specks of stuff off the floor and bringing them to me like I'm supposed to do something with it. So I'm kind of to the point now where I'm telling her, stop picking stuff up off the floor. It's not an emergency. I don't have to run to the trash can when you find something on the floor. Tristan will pop the head off a doll. Oh, the head fell off. It's not an emergency. If the doll was a living, breathing, actually if the doll was living and breathing, it'd be terrifying, but it's not an emergency. There's a light on in the bathroom. It's got to be shut off right now. There's a cabinet door open, has to be closed right now. Everything's an emergency. And as often as that tends to get on my nerves, I realize that God looking at me probably shakes his head, elbows Jesus and says, everything's an emergency. And why I bring this up is because it just feels in a lot of the areas in my life that things are just out of control. You know, this COVID thing has our world turned upside down, and it still hasn't returned to normal. Politics has the world turned upside down, and I don't think it ever returns to normal. You know, there's some other things, but I think to me sometimes everything's an emergency. Has to be done right now. But what is difficult to make peace with is the fact that to God, there's no emergency. The Lord's in control. Now I go back and read stories from the Old Testament and read things about Abraham or about Moses or about Jacob or about David or Hezekiah or whatever. And you get into the New Testament, you read the stories of Jesus and stories of some of his disciples and some of the writings of Paul. And we're studying the book of Hebrews in the Bible class on Sundays. And a thought occurred to me, and those of you who might actually be in class Sunday, you'll probably hear this again. But it occurred to me that to you and I, Jesus lived a really long time ago. It occurred to me that to you and I, Moses and the Israelite stories of the Old Testament are antiquated. It happened so long ago in the ancient world, right? Our world has come such a long way in all this time. But I seem to recall Peter saying something curious in 2 Peter chapter 3, that with the Lord a day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years like a day. What is time to somebody who exists outside of it? And that's hard for me to wrap my head around because I live in time. God doesn't. And so what seems like something should be an emergency for me and therefore for God, let's get this done right now. Well, to God, Moses just lived a couple of days ago. Jesus just ascended to heaven Wednesday. I mean, he's outside time. And so this idea that everything is an emergency just isn't true. Because the God who lives outside of time also controls the time that he lives outside of. And when the scriptures talk about our lives being a vapor, that we're here today and gone tomorrow, it's actually true. And just for today, it is helping to give me peace, knowing that in spite of all the crazy that is happening, in spite of the fact that I feel out of control, as if I've ever really been in control of anything ever, that in spite of all of that, The Lord knew this was coming. The Lord's been through this before. There's nothing new under the sun. But to God, if Moses just lived a few days ago, because to the Lord a day is like 1,000 years and 1,000 years like a day, what does this particular moment mean to God? I think it means listen. This is God speaking. I think it means listen. I'm here. I've been here. And I will be here. You're good. Did you hear me? God says. He says, you're good. It's okay. And for me, I need to hear that. I need to hear that it's not up to me. I need to hear that no matter what happens around me, while I'm free to participate in it, I'm not free to let it rule me, because I have no power other than the power that God has bestowed on me. It's just a question of what that power should be used for. You know, in Romans chapter 8, verse 11, where Paul writes that the same power that rose Jesus from the grave lives in me. But what does that mean? What does that empower me to do or empower me to be? Well, I think if wielded correctly, it allows me to not have to be in charge. It allows me to have peace in the midst of conflict. It allows me to have confidence in the midst of uncertainty. It allows me to trust a God who has been here from the beginning and will never leave. But if I don't use that power, I start biting my nails and worrying about one moment to the next and wishing for this and hoping for that and feeling uncertain and out of control. So I guess today, I just want to encourage you that that same power that rose Jesus from the grave lives in you too. And this isn't new for God. He's been here before, and he'll be here even after this is all over. And for him, it's just a blink. And while he shares in your moments, he also rules those moments. So today, just an encouragement. Relinquish what you think you control. Surrender to your own rule and let God have it. Please. Coming from somebody who's trying real hard to live that, it's totally worth it. See ya.